Welcome to Boomer Bean. My guest today has become a leading voice on identifying the healthiest products and menu choices on the market. Franceen Friefeld has an in-depth knowledge of both wellness trends and the food industry. Franceen works with the food companies to develop and launch healthier programs, products, and services. She has created healthy dining programs for over 6,000 establishments nationwide. Recognized as the market-smart nutritionist, Franceen evaluates and identifies the healthiest choices in grocery stores and restaurants and brings that knowledge to consumers nationwide. Franceen's proven strategies help consumers incorporate healthy eating into their busy lives and provides them with the skills needed to navigate today's health and wellness marketplace with command and confidence. Franceen has over 30 years of experience ranging from senior field management positions to published nutrition author, expert speaker, media professional, and TV host. Franceen is a frequent contributor to the media and author of The Healthy Way and Fill Up, Not Out, rated one of the top 5 self-help programs by AboutNutrition.com. Welcome, Franceen.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to this show because I'm going to be preparing 3 healthy meals that really take no time at all.
Fabulous.
People say they have no time to cook healthy and they'd rather just pull up into a fast food lane, but really it doesn't have to be that difficult. And I'm going to show busy people that you can make meals in a very easy, healthy, and delicious way. So I'll be preparing today 3 meals, a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The breakfast will be an egg and cheese scramble in a pita, and you can take that, wrap it up, and go with it. The second one is going to be a salad. It's going to be a tuna primavera salad, rich in nutrients with some pasta in it and tuna. And then a dinner meal, which will be a chicken stir fry, and on the side, wonderful grains to go with it.
Delicious.
Yeah. So I'm going to get started here. But before I do, I just want to explain a little bit about the philosophy of healthy eating. Because if you put 10 people in a row and you ask them, what is health to you? They'll all have a different definition of what that is. So I want to explain to you my definition of health, which is endorsed by reputable organizations, myself being a dietitian, and physicians, and also it is based on scientific fact. But the most important thing is it's so easy to understand and apply. And that philosophy is the 50-25-25 rule. What that is that half your mix, the healthy food mix I call it, half the mix should be made up of fruits and vegetables, a quarter of the mix carbohydrates, the complex carbohydrates, a quarter of the mix would be protein and dairy foods, and then just a little sprinkling of healthy fats there. So that, if you remember the 50-25-25 rule, you can apply that to cooking, to your meals, to your shopping cart, 50-25-25, to restaurants. It's a really easy concept to grasp. So, with that said,
okay,
let's start breakfast.
Delicious.
Okay, so here, as I mentioned, I'm going to be making a cheese and egg scramble in a pita. And what we start off here, this is a non-stick pan, because what I'm using is oil, but just a very minimal amount of oil. You can really see in restaurants, and a lot of people think that olive oil is healthy and they just douse it on there. I'm going to be explaining a little bit about calorie density, because if you look here, 1 tablespoon of oil, just 1 little tablespoon, has 120 calories. That's as much food that you'd find in this bowl of 5 cups of vegetables.
That's startling.
Yeah. So you can see that, you know, you have a little bit of oil, it drizzles on your salad. Usually you put 1/4 of a cup of dressing or oily dressing.
Right.
That can add up to the calories of Big Mac, you know?
Unbelievable.
So really we want to get minimal amount, but enough for good health. Really all you need is about 1 to 2 tablespoons of good fat a day. And what I call good fat is the canola and the olive oil are the best fats. So I start off with sauteing and stir frying with a healthy fat, minimal amounts as I said. Then what I add is oftentimes onions, because onions have a lot of water content in it. So it will create moisture in the dish, impart flavor and not having to add extra oil to it. So that's another trick that I use. Start with the onions. So let's stir fry that up a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to add some peppers and onions, very high in vitamin C. Peppers and tomatoes, very high in vitamin C. So people think that it's just the citrus fruits that are high in vitamin C, like grapefruit and oranges, but actually peppers and tomatoes are very high in vitamin C.
So good this time of year.
Exactly. And tomatoes are also high in something called lycopene, which is a health-inducing nutrient, so very important for health as well. Okay. So cook that up there. And then we're going to add the eggs. Now here's egg whites.
Aha. And why egg whites and not the whole egg?
Well, in this dish, what we try to do is balance when we're cooking and eating. So we're going to be adding some cheese soon that has some saturated fat and total fat in there. So what we want to do is keep the fat controlled in other ingredients. And these are egg whites because most of the fat and cholesterol are in the egg yolk. There's nothing wrong with eating whole eggs. You can have a few eggs a week. Even if you have high cholesterol, you can have eggs, whole eggs. So the addition of the peppers and the tomatoes will add vitamin C to it. And people think that having vitamin C, the sources of it are really just citrus fruits like grapefruits and oranges, but actually tomatoes and peppers will give a lot of vitamin C.
It's beautiful already.
Yeah. Now we're going to add the cheese. And as I said before, the cheese will give some fat in there. Now this is a reduced fat cheddar, not a fat-free cheddar. Some fat-free cheeses are like rubber. So you want to get maybe a reduced fat. Or the other thing that I do when I'm using cheese is I use a very strong flavored cheese so that a little bit goes a long way.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like a strong Parmesan, an aged Parmesan, or a very, very strong cheddar so that the flavor goes far. So really you don't have to use that much.
And look at all the colors in that dish.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And the other question I get oftentimes is the difference between cage-free eggs and regular eggs. Cage-free means that the hens actually are roaming around and they're not in cages, so it's a much more humane way of treating the hens. And then the brown eggs versus white eggs, people think that brown eggs are healthier. Well, actually, there's no more nutrients in brown eggs than there are in white eggs. They may cost a little more, but that's because the brown eggs tend to be a little bit bigger. If you want more nutrients in eggs, go for the omega-3 enriched eggs. Omega-3s are very healthy for the heart, and those will have probably 5-fold more omega-3s in the omega-3 rich eggs.
I suppose you can do a whole lecture just on eggs.
Yes, I can. I can. And eggs are so great, and they're so versatile, and you can use it in so many dishes. So anyways, here it is.
Beautiful.
And I'm just going to end up with just a little bit of salt and pepper. And again, you hear people saying, well, I'm not going to have any salt, and I'm going to watch my calories and fat. You know, unless you have a heart condition, I say it's okay to have a little bit of salt to have flavor. I'd rather a person follow the 50-25-25, eat vegetables, and put a little salt on it to get the nutrients than to go completely salt-free and have no taste.
It adds so much depth of flavor.
It really does, and you don't have to use a whole lot.
Right.
Okay, so then what we do is here's a whole grain pita, and what they say is that you don't have to have everything whole grain. They say make half your grains whole. So here's whole grain, but even if we used a white pita, it would have been okay because we've got vegetables in here and lots of nutrients. So you see I cut off about half.
Okay.
And then you put that inside the pita.
Perfect.
Okay. And you can wrap it up. Oh, spelled here. You can wrap it up and take it to go. Okay, put that in there and just wrap it. So here's a prepared one right here.
Beautiful.
And you have some fruit with that, and that follows the 50-25-25, very filling and nutritious. So there's your breakfast meal.
Bring it in the car right as you commute.
Exactly. Okay, so now the salad. And this is going to be a 50-25-25 salad. It's going to be having some grains in there, as well as vegetables, lots of vegetables, and some protein with fish. Tuna primavera salad. And you can find the recipes, by the way, in all these dishes in my book, Healthy Meals for Your Busy Life. And it explains the products that we use and the ingredients and everything in there. So what I'm starting off here is leafy greens. There's some romaine in here, but the more green, the more leafy, the more nutrients. So I have in here romaine lettuce, and I have spinach, I have leaf lettuce, I have arugula, I have a lot of wonderful leafy greens in here, which adds a lot of nutrients there. So we start off with 4 cups of that. Then I'm adding a mix of 3 tablespoons of scallions, 1/3 of a cup of carrots, sliced carrots, and 1/3 of a cup of peppers. Okay.
And it looks beautiful
Already. Then peas. These are frozen peas, and they've been thawed. And oftentimes, again, you hear people saying, well, I'm not going to buy frozen vegetables because it's not as nutritious as fresh, which is not correct, because frozen vegetables are actually, and fruits, are actually just as nutritious as fresh, actually sometimes even more so because they're frozen at the peak of ripeness. So you've got a lot of nutrients in there. The only difference is using frozen vegetables when you're cooking. They tend to be a little more soggy, so they won't maintain the crispness of it. But it's a great way of cooking quickly, keeping them in your freezer just in case you don't have fresh vegetables there. A wonderful way to keep a stocked, healthy kitchen. Now we have here a cup of rotini colored pasta, tricolored pasta. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the pasta here. Again, it's deceiving because when you're looking at this pasta, you think, well, it's whole grain, or it's got color in it, so it's got vegetable in it, so it's healthier. And I'll give an example here. You see this pasta, which looks really healthy because it's got the color in it, right? You think, oh, this is a vegetable type of pasta. Well, if you look at the ingredients and percent, it's really only 2% of it comes from vegetable.
Not very much.
No. So it's not really adding any extra boost of nutrition to it.
That's so important to know.
It is, because it's deceiving. So what you can do is just count it as a starch, a carbohydrate, which is healthy, but it's not a whole grain carbohydrate.
Understood.
If you want whole grain, you would go for a whole wheat pasta, and here on the ingredient list, it would say whole as the first ingredient. Then you know it's got the goodness of the whole grain in it, okay? But we use this because it is imparting nutrients, and it's got wonderful color, so we have that. And then I'm using white tuna here, white albacore tuna. Tuna is extremely high in omega-3s, very heart healthy.
And the aromas that are coming up right now out of this salad are just fantastic.
Okay, so very easy to make. And again, here you go with the 50-25-25 balance with the grains and the vegetables and the protein. Now to end it off with that little sprinkling of healthy fat, this is a bottled salad dressing.
No kidding.
Yeah, there are many on the market which are actually very healthy and delicious. There are many on the market that have a lot of additives and preservatives in it.
Sure.
So you really should be reading the labels. But again, in my book, I list the actual salad dressings that are the healthier type without additives and preservatives in it. So this is one of them, Newman's Own. I love Newman's Own products. They're tasty, and they're preservative-free and additive-free and wonderful. Well, so this is a light balsamic.
Now, I noticed you use some packaged foods. You mentioned the frozen peas in the salad and other packaged foods and a pre-prepared salad dressing. So clearly, you're okay with that.
Well, it depends on the product. So there are a lot of products out there that are packaged and not healthy.
Sure.
Additives, preservatives, lots of sugar, lots of added fat to it. But there are a bunch that are healthy. So, you know, you don't have to be afraid of the grocery store.
Right.
You don't have to have everything whole grown in your garden. Certainly that's probably the best way to go, but who has time for that, right?
Yeah.
So here's light balsamic there. and there's your salad.
It's as pretty as any restaurant salad.
Yep. And I want to just end off here talking about, this is a portion of the salad, which has 300 calories in it, with the dressing and everything in it.
That's one portion?
This is one portion. Talk about fill up, satisfied, and feel good.
Wouldn't have guessed.
This has 300 calories. This is filled with ranch high-fat dressing with bacon bits in there. Again, folks thinking, wow, I'm going to have a salad for lunch.
That's such a powerful thing to see.
Yeah, it's a great demonstration because it really shows that the calorie density can really increase if you've got a lot of fat in the dish. So you've really got a lot less bang for your buck in this salad, just a few bites, if you will, versus this salad,
And
which is
they're the same amount of calories.
same amount of calories.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so we're going to be doing a chicken stir fry. And I picked the stir fry because it's just, you know, a very average type of dish that everyone does. But the reason why I chose this is because it's so versatile. And there's so many different choices that you can use in the stir fry.
Sure.
You can use tofu and shrimp and all types of proteins in there. We're using chicken today. Also, any leftovers that you have in the fridge, you just dump it in terms of vegetables and those types of things. So it's very versatile. And I also wanted to show you again what I had talked about before with the sauteing and stuff. Again, that trick about low-fat stir-frying and low-fat sauteing. So what we're going to start off here is, let's get it up here, is oil, a tablespoon of oil. And this oil I absolutely love. This is a garlic-infused oil.
Ooh, sounds good.
If you smell.
I can.
Yeah. I love using garlic. Garlic is just, it's healthy and it's in part such a wonderful flavor. And when I do use garlic, I don't use the jar, I do use the fresh garlic because that really gives a flavor. But this garlic oil is an easy way to impart a great garlic flavor, and I use it a lot in my cooking. So a tablespoon there, and then, as I said before, okay, you have some, starting with the onions, okay? And here I also wanted to talk a little bit about broth, sauteing and stir-frying with broth, because if you need a little more moisture, instead of adding extra oil, and you started with the onions, you can use broth. And there's low-sodium broth that you can use. Low-sodium broths that you can use, and also regular. We've used regular here. So it gives a great flavor as well. So next, we're going to add the chicken. Okay. Here we have a wonderful chicken here that does not have any skin on it. And the reason why is that chicken without the skin is a much lower fat way of eating it. Most of the fat is in the skin.
Right.
Almost 50% of the fat is in the skin. And when you cook without the skin, the flavors of the dish get right into the chicken. So even when I'm baking chicken, I take the skin off first. Then I put the flavorings on it. So it really gets a more healthful flavor, healthful dish, and more flavor to it.
Very good to know.
Yeah. So here we have the chicken. Just stir fry that a little bit. And I'm going to talk now, while this is cooking, a little bit about the end result of what you're going to see in the stir fry, and compare it again to a dish that is not following the 50-25-25 rule. Okay.
So that
You've got here, well, this is chicken that's fried in a bun. Here's chicken that's on top of vegetables in a stir fry.
Beautiful.
You get a lot more bang for your buck, right?
Right.
So this whole dish is 320 calories, same amount as actually a half of a fried chicken sandwich.
It's astounding when you see it on the plate.
Right. So talking about filling up and being satisfied, that's the way to go, the 50-25-25. Okay, so let's finish preparing this. So chicken's almost done here.
I know in your book you write about the importance of filling up and being satisfied as opposed to being deprived and hungry.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I go out for dinner, actually, I oftentimes eat a cheese and cracker or something like that, and my husband will say to me, "Why are you eating before before we're going out to dinner. And I say, because I don't want to be ravenous when the meal comes. I want to have my appetite in a much better controlled way. So when you approach a meal, you really shouldn't be ravenous or even have the hunger really at bay is the best way to approach it. Okay, then we add the vegetables. This is 6 cups of vegetables. And again, you can use any type. This is 1.5 cups of the peppers, and you've got broccoli in there, and you have cabbage.
Again, beautiful color.
Yeah. You know, actually, with all types of vegetables, the different colors, the more colorful, the more nutrients are in there.
Sure.
So the eye is a really good indication of health. Okay, now we're going to add the sauce, and this is in here 1/4 cup of low sodium chicken broth.
Oh.
And then you have 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce and a little bit of honey.
Oh, what a clever concoction.
Yeah. Okay.
Low sodium soy sauce, chicken broth, and honey.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay, so you're going to cook here. And interesting with cabbage, actually. Love using cabbage. It's going to shrink up quite a bit because it's got so much water in it.
Sure.
Vegetables actually have a lot of water content in it. So cabbage happens to be very high water content. So it really shrivels up when you're cooking with it. And the other thing about cabbage is cutting cabbage, you shouldn't use a carbon steel knife because the leaves will turn black.
Oh.
So best to use a stainless steel.
Oh, I guess I must be using the right knife. I've never had my cabbage turn black.
Yeah, that's kind of a misconception here with people. Then finally, this is another trick in terms of thickening. Roux is what a lot of chefs use in restaurants and a lot of recipes, which is a flour butter mixture to thicken. Butter and flour they use as a thickener for sauces and gravies and stir fries.
That looked like flour and water.
This is cornstarch and water.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a fat-free way.
Oh, so there's no butter?
Nope.
Okay.
So it's a fat-free way of
thickening the sauce.
Thickening. You add that.
So would you say in most restaurants they use a roux with butter?
Yeah. Unless it's a healthful dish. The restaurants are really including a lot of healthy dishes on the menu now. And so I would say most of those dishes will have in it the cornstarch water instead of the butter and flour. So there you go.
It's absolutely beautiful, smells delicious, and looks super healthy.
Yep, it is.
And it took you no time at all.
No. And you can imagine if you had in your fridge leftovers, or here you've got frozen vegetables that have the mix in it. So you just dump that in, even have chicken that's already ready. And you just mix it in together and you've got stir fry in 2 minutes. And then the grains on the side, you've got a lot of prepared grains which are healthy and quick to make. So here I just brought a sample of ready whole grain medley. It's got no preservatives and additives in it. You've got here a brown rice couscous mix. Again, no additives and preservatives. Here's quinoa. And we put on the side here some quinoa.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I used quinoa because quinoa is actually a grain that happens to be very high in protein. It's the only grain that has all the amino acids that actually your body treats like a real protein.
It's been written up quite a bit lately. It seems to have come into its own.
Yes, and it's becoming much more popular on restaurant menus, and people are using it more, which is wonderful.
Instead of rice.
Right. There's more to life than pasta, rice, and whole grain bread.
So if you're on a low-carb diet, then would that be the way to go?
Well, I actually don't believe that really restricting carbohydrates is the best way to go, unless you're a diabetic and you're counting carbohydrates.
Sure.
But really, the mix, as you see, 25, 50, 25, 25 is actually 75% of your plate is carbohydrate, because fruits and vegetables are carbohydrate.
Oh, right.
And the complex carbohydrates, so really you're eating 75% carbohydrate. And that's the healthy way to go, with a little bit of protein and a very little bit of fat. Do you want to have a taste?
Sure. Looks very hot.
Yes, it is hot, but it is delicious. Okay, just a little bit here, some chicken. You see how the sauce is adhering
Okay.
to it?
There you go. You always see the chefs on TV put it in their mouth and then go, oh, you wouldn't believe how hot this is.
This is, I must say, delicious. Without a lot of fat, delicious flavor, healthy, low-cal, high fiber, bursting with nutrients.
There is so
Easy.
much flavor in this dish. And it didn't look like you put in that much.
Right, just a little bit of the sauce, but it's very powerful, the sauce.
Seriously? Tons of flavor.
Great. Okay, so let's just close that up here.
That was so delicious, Francine. Thank you for making those 3 delicious and quick meals.
That's great that it took such a short period of time, I know, but it's not hard to do.
Nice.
And you see 3 meals in just a matter of minutes.
So now, we just have a couple minutes left. Can you summarize for our audience quick tips about preparing healthy meals, maybe some pointers from your book?
Okay. I guess one of the biggest things that I want to address is that we in America live on the kind of extremes. We go, we're legal, we're cheating, we're good, we're bad. You know, I've eaten a big meal last night, so I'm going to starve all day. I never want to eat in a fast food restaurant again. So it's kind of, you know, we go to such extremes that what I want to talk about a little bit is the 80-20 rule. And that means that if you are eating in a healthful way 80% of the time, that 20% that you have an indulgent dessert or you have your favorite ultra burger is not going to make a difference. You may wake up in the morning with a few extra pounds because it's actually water that you're retaining if you have a very high salt and meal the night before, but it's not, you're not going to put on 3 pounds from one meal. So it's really about the 80-20 rule. It's about learning to eat in restaurants. It's about enjoying restaurants. It's taking a more relaxed way of looking at wellness. And so that really is my philosophy. It's getting real in the world. It's talking about shopping in the supermarket, not having to buy all whole foods and having to go to the exterior of the supermarket, which is what people say you should avoid the middle.
Right.
Well, you don't have to avoid the middle. There are some packaged items that are healthy. Not all, but some. So really, that's the best advice I could give in terms of being satisfied from a filling up and also satisfied from a I enjoy living and I enjoy health, and it's all in balance, and it's all about enjoying what you're eating and not having to be strict and really regimented in the way that you live.
That's lovely. Really. Well, there you have it from our registered dietitian, Franceen Friefeld. There will be a graphic at the end if you're interested in her book. And, well, Boomers, thanks for being with us on Boomer Being. See you next time.